can stop people who are criminals from being criminals. The government's checkbook is not going to solve the problems that we have. We are never going to get anywhere until you decide that you individually care enough about your community to do something about it. 910 AM Superstation. We're the hottest station in town. Good morning, Metro Detroit. It's Kerry Leon Jackson, your urban conservative. How are you this morning? Time now is 6 o'clock in the morning. If you've got to be there by 7 o'clock, you've got 1 hour to get there. You're listening to 910 AM Superstation, Metro Detroit's only urban talk radio station. The number here in the studio is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600. Listen, I don't know about you, but when I grew up, the one thing that I heard, not just my parents, but also my grandparents say on a regular basis, is that actions have consequences. Now, when you're young, they tell you that actions have consequences, and you simply think it means if I do A, I'm going to wind up getting spanked or, a whooping with a hairbrush. I'm sure that I told y'all that story before. But that's all that I thought it meant when I was young. As I got older, once you get into the teen years, then the late teen years and stuff, you start to see that the things that your parents taught you mean a lot in life, in things that happen at school, in things that happen at work, and in things that happen in your government, and whether it's in your city, in your state, or around the country. In this case, around the world. Actions have consequences. We have, as a nation, spent the last 40 to 50 years investing a lot of, we've gone into a relationship with China sort of without paying attention to history, sort of without paying attention to the fact that sometimes you can let your enemy in a Trojan horse. And once you decide, oh my God, they're my enemy, they're standing behind you. They've got you surrounded, and they've all got guns. But I got to tell you, there are times that the story about the Trojan horse, and for those of y'all that have never bothered to read the story of the Trojan horse, I don't know how you got away with it. I mean, it was one of those things that we all had to learn at school. At least I think that we did. I don't know if they still teach that now. But if you remember the story, they opened it. They thought this was a gift. It was a great thing. They let it in, and then they find out that this great gift that they opened the door, they opened the gates, and that they brought this gift in actually was filled with enemy soldiers, and they were surrounded. I'm starting to think that maybe if someone 30 or 40 years ago, they started to think that maybe we better be a little bit careful and a little reflective on our relationship with China, we might not be in the position of being bullied, having our military be bullied in the air, on the sea. That Chinese might not be doing things like setting up their own individual police departments, police stations in our country. China might be in a position of treating us a little bit more like, maybe we're an equal. Right now, I don't see that happening. If you've paid attention at all to some of the things that have been happening in just the few incidents that have happened in the last few months, whether it is China feels perfectly fine with flying spy balloons over our country and stopping the spy balloons to take whatever pictures they want to take wherever they bother to want to take them, whether China's decided that, they've said, listen, y'all decided that was international water. We have not decided that was international water, and we've decided you're not allowed in it. Now, our country is going to sail in what we believe is international water, and China is going to do everything they can to bully us out of it and say, you've got to start paying attention. That's not international water. Yes, even to the point where there's airspace that China has decided we are expanding. We're not just going to be limited to our own individual airspace. We're taking over other space that is for commercial jets and things like that. you've got to start to wonder what exactly is the motivation of a country that believes not just that they're a superpower equal to us, but that they're in a position that they're a lot stronger than us, especially when it comes to the pocketbook. Now, we have, I don't know how many of you know this. Let me tell you a little story. Um, Back after the 2008 sort of recession and the economy fell apart, you will remember that a lot of individual properties, and not just in Michigan, but particularly in Detroit, lost value. Real estate was going ridiculously cheap in Detroit. And at that point in time, there were a lot of, and not just myself, but every real estate professional that I know was taking advantage of these. We've got an international investor. You've got an international investor. They're buying up everything. Now, let me just be clear. Real estate agents and brokers, we don't make any money unless we actually do a deal. So when you do a deal, you get paid a commission of it. So you're looking forward to closing as many deals as you can. You're not really worried about the geopolitical implications of what you're doing. Just saying, look, if they've got money, these properties over here for sale, we're going to do everything we can to close as many deals as we can. Like, let those folks and that international money, yeah, it came from, it was not just from China, but it was all, the majority of it was Asian. A small percent of it was Russian, but a lot of that money that came into our city and our properties that were being bought up, they were being bought up by folks from China. And also that same money spread. A couple of years ago, the one thing, the one story that was not reported enough is that there were large financial institutions, those companies that usually make money off of all of the large commercial real estate, pretty much run out of different real estate purchases to make in the commercial real estate space. And so they decided to move into what's now called, and you didn't hear this phrase 10 years ago, but it's single family rentals. The all of the large funds started buying up individual homes. And so China decided, and a lot, there were a lot of Chinese investors who decided that they were going to go out and start competing with all of those funds, and they were going to go out and buy up as many individual homes as possible. I saw this myself a couple of years ago, that all of the reason that a lot of the homes were, the prices were being inflated is because you might think that the homes were three or $400,000, and that's what the regular market value would be. But a lot of folks that had ready money, ready to close deals immediately, and those folks were all from China. Let me say this again: those folks were all from China, came over and were buying up everything they could as soon as they saw it. They'd buy it, renovate it, and then decided they were going to rent it out. They were looking for cash flow. They were looking for money to be generated to go back to them. And when you run out of stores to buy and gas stations to buy and other things to buy, that for the cash flow, you look to what's next. Let's buy up as much real estate as we can in single family rentals and renovate them and rent them out. Now, there's a smaller problem with local governments deciding that they need to regulate those folks because they don't actually follow the rules. They could care. They're not renting to black people. Get that's out of your mind. They have their own individual. This is what we're going to wind up doing. There are a lot of different cultural variations that you've got to put up with. But the started to around the country, different local governments started to look at it and say, wait a minute, regular American citizens are being priced out of the market because of all of this Chinese money flowing into our community. Got to tell you, the folks that were coming over from China, they knew this. I had some clients that came in from China several years ago, and they never wanted to get out of the car. They were like, listen, we need you to go over and do that. We want you to do this. They didn't get out of the car. And I'm like, why are you people hiding? Yeah, well, I didn't understand all of the ramifications of the fact that they knew good and well that they were not as welcome because of their skin, because of their nationality, because of who they were. They were not as welcome in certain areas, and they knew that long before they got to Michigan. Several governments have started, and you'll see that I shared this headline. You could have found the same headline last year, and you could have found the same headline 5 years ago. But the other day, there was another article, and I shared it on my social media that says some of the local governments have started to look at China and say, hold on, wait a minute. Maybe, just maybe, they are not really as friendly as we thought they were. Maybe, just maybe, it's time to just take a look at these folks and say, do they really have pure motive? Or are the Chinese folks who are invading our communities, are they playing the long game? Do they actually have an ulterior motive that maybe is probably not all just economical? Maybe they're not just looking to make money. Maybe once you put together the fact that they've bought up a lot of commercial real estate, not just in our state, but in other states, they've bought up a lot of residential real estate, not just in our state, but other states. They have taken over. Listen, every time the Treasury Department is the one that really, really gets all nervous when you start to have these conversations. Because whenever Treasury decides that they're going to issue bonds, Chinese are the ones that step in and buy all of it. So when you hear the president say things like, oh, they're a great trading partner, that's code for most of the money that we owe to China. They've invested very, 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 very heavily in our country. And that if China wakes up a year from now and says, all right, no more, we're done, we're going to start to cash out on Americans, we're going to crash their economy, we are in trouble. If China decides that they want to just clamp down on Americans, y'all think the price of eggs went up just, up to $6 and things like that. The price went up and went down. You think that interest rates started to climb a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit more. If China actually decides to listen, LeBron James, y'all remember what happened a couple of years ago. And the fact that Chinese also have heavily invested, I mean, heavily, heavily, heavily invested in the NBA. And so not one NBA player is going to say anything at all about trying to tell China how to run their government and how to police their people. It's not going to happen. It would wind up costing them money. We have dropped our guard over the last 30 to 40 years. We have opened up the door and let someone in who is probably not that friendly. Now, I understand this. I don't want you thinking, Kerry is starting to sound like one of those crazy wind up conspiracy theorists. No, I just want you to do a little bit of research. I want you to wake up. I want you to start to ask yourself the question, maybe, just maybe, some of the actions we've taken over the last 30 or 40 years, maybe we didn't make the best decision. Maybe, just maybe, it's time to think through some of those decisions and to start to watch these people that we have taken in and we treated like our friend and we treated them as our ally. And maybe, just maybe, we made a mistake. Maybe. Listen, I'm not ever going to be one of those people to say, I hope not, that I never wind up being one of those people to say, you know what, when they started to inter all of the Japanese back then during the war, that was a good idea. Yeah, it's frightening to think about that we'd ever get to that point of saying, round them all up, lock them all up somewhere, because all of them are all enemies, and we got to lock them all up until we know who's the good guy and who's the bad one. I hope we don't wind up getting to that point ever again. But the truth is, it might, maybe, just be chance. It might be time for you to say, you know what, maybe we better take a second and try and figure out whether or not the relationships that the people that we've let into our communities, the ones that we've let invest money there, the place where we sent a lot of auto industry jobs and we haven't brought them all back yet. Maybe, just maybe, we've been looking in the wrong direction at the wrong enemy. And maybe it's time to start to take some sort of steps to try and regulate what's going on in our own communities. Tell me what you think. 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600. I want to know, do you think that just maybe it's time, to start to take some steps to secure our own homeland from folks that might not have our best interests at heart? 313-778-7600. We're going to take a very quick break. It's only 3 minutes, y'all. We'll be right back.
Did you know most vitamin supplements don't even come from food? Even the products with colorful fruits and vegetables adorning the labels are seldom derived from produce. Typically, supplements are synthetic, made in a laboratory. Modern science may synthetically imitate these chemicals, but your body isn't fooled. It knows the difference, and it craves quality materials to build, repair, and fight illness. You need to consume fruits and vegetables daily in a variety of colors, as well as whole grains and other fresh food. That's why I formulated Balance of Nature. I wanted to be able to give my patients a natural alternative to the cheap, unnatural chemistry by giving them real fruits and vegetables. In fact, the only ingredients inside of Balance of Nature are whole fruits and vegetables. Don't settle for imitation nutrition. Reach for the good stuff, the real stuff.
Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code RADIO5.
Do you have an idea for an invention or new product? Do you think companies would be interested in your idea? Do you want to try to get a patent? Then call InventHelp now. InventHelp keeps your idea confidential and explains every step of the invention process. We create professional materials representing your idea and submit it to companies who are looking for new ideas. We have more than 9,000 companies who have agreed to review ideas in confidence. If a company shows interest in manufacturing your invention, we can negotiate on your behalf. We have helped over 10,000 clients receive patents. We also offer services including 3D modeling and animation demonstrating your idea, prototyping services, and we use state-of-the-art technology to show InventHelp client ideas to additional companies. Join the thousands of people just like you who chose InventHelp to pursue their idea. We are experienced. We are working for you. We are InventHelp.
Call us for free information at 1-800-460-1663. That's 1-800-460-1663. Again, 1-800-460-1663.
Balance of Nature is fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I had no energy for months and months and months. I had no energy, and I'm a very active person. And my husband was noticing that I was tired all the time, and I was slow at everything that I was doing. And I kept listening to the commercials, and you don't know if something's going to help you or not. But I decided this was something I was going to do. And lo and behold, in about 4 days to taking them, I was repotting plants. I was doing other things. My husband said to me, "You seem to have more energy." And I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm fine." And I'm telling you, nothing has ever made such a difference. So anyway, I'm very happy.
Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code RADIO5.
Welcome back, Metro Detroit. This is Kerry Leon Jackson, your urban conservative. You're listening to 910 AM Superstation, Metro Detroit's only urban talk radio station. The number here in the studio is 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600. I hope it's a very simple question. Several different local governments around the country have said, you know what? We've let a lot of Chinese money come in and buy property, single-family homes in our community in the last few years. We weren't really paying attention. Maybe, just maybe, because of China's aggressiveness now, maybe China's really not looking for the interest of Americans. Maybe they've got something else up their sleeve. Maybe, just maybe, we need to actually just slow their roll down a little bit. I want to say, you know what? If you've got some real estate and you're putting it up for sale, we're going to regulate. You can sell it to anybody else except for somebody from China. We're going to give you permission to openly discriminate against the Chinese. So tell me, do you think that's a good idea? 313-778-7600. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Ms. Leona. Good morning, Ms. Leona. How are you?
I'm fine. Good morning. How are you? I can't believe I'm number one this morning.
You are always number one in our heart, Ms. Leona. What's on your mind this morning?
As I was listening to you, I was wondering I thought China and Russia was our enemy. And you mean to tell me all this that the United States, oh, we owe it to China? So explain to me, how would we balance the budget and get out of owing China? Would we have, would
Ms.
we have
Leona,
to do it on the back of the poor people, or how would we do it?
Ms. Leona, there is not a politician, a policymaker, an opinion offering person who has the answer to that question. We're in a position that we have no idea how we can get out of it, which is why the president, every president, no matter whether they're a Democrat or a Republican, will quickly dispatch people to go over there to try to talk to the Chinese when they're starting to act a little hot-headed. We're going to always send somebody over there because we have no idea, because we've been making decisions for 40 years. Let's take the money, take the money, take the money, take the money, take the money. Yes, when you hear them talk about the trillions of dollars that we owe, the lion's share of that money we owe to China. And you're right. For those of us that are old enough to remember the Cold War, China and Russia were our enemies. But no politician has treated, listen, the state of Michigan owes money to China. Listen, there would not have been, if you remember, there are a lot of folks that are too young to remember when Michigan almost went bankrupt back in the 80s. And the money that saved Michigan from going bankrupt came from China. Yes, we owe them. And yes, we've been taking money from the enemy. And we're not in a position today where we can just say, oh, never mind, give them back all their money. We're just going to be bothered with. We don't want to be bothered with them folks. Let's prepare. We might have to go to war with them. No. If there is a war, economically, we're going to lose. You are right. We can't just balance it on the backs of the poor. We can't, even if we just decided to step in and take all of the money that Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and all of the rest of them have so that we can pay off. We can't. We owe China too much money.
My goodness. So what do we do? What do we do?
It's a very good question. I don't have that answer at 6:20 in the morning. Let's listen to some of your other callers and see if they've got the answer, because we've got to do something. There's got to be a point when we say we've had enough, and let's see if there's a way to unwind this predicament we've gotten ourselves into. But right now, today, nobody has that answer. Thanks for calling, Ms. Leona. All right, let's go to Fidel. Good morning, Fidel.
Hey, what's happening? Kid, you did know what you was doing, kid. I told you on your fair. You hung up on me. The damage is done. Y'all was taught to do exactly what y'all do. Go out there and make as much money. You can't come over here not talking about you didn't realize what you were doing. You knew good and well wasn't no Chinaman inviting you to Hong Kong and picking you up in the airport and say, here, you buy up everything. You knew what you was doing. You went after your greed. And it's hurt. Guess who else is going to hurt? It's going to hurt your son's generation. So again, don't come on here and play the role like you didn't realize when you was making that money. You realized, Miss Leona, stop.
From now on, everybody, just let's get up in the morning and listen to Fidel, y'all. Fidel has all of the answers. And Fidel swears I hung up on him. I ain't never hung up on him that I know of. But Fidel believes that he got all of the answers to all of the world's problems, and the rest of us are all wrong. Thank you, brother. I'm not hanging up on you because I've given you a fair opportunity to vent and blame everybody else. But you know what? I'm going to listen to somebody else now. Thank you so much for calling this morning, brother. We really appreciate you. Let's go talk to Rick. Good morning, Rick. How are you?
Good morning.
What's on your mind this morning?
I'm thinking about your question, and I think it sort of gets to be obvious. We haven't developed the capacity for a lot of options, right? So our communication with each other as citizens really leaves us in a difficult place. I look at that debt too, and there are other crises and things that are going on that we need to be taking account of. I mean, the China piece is worrying in terms of the debt. Have to agree, people kind of knew what they were doing; they just went out for the money. But at the same time, we don't really have a capacity to do much. We can't call national boycotts. We can't really protect ourselves from a lot of these things. AI in particular, we're in a vulnerable condition in faith as a country.
Thank you.
And,
that's why you understand. I realize it's a little jarring to start out this on a Monday morning with, but boy, Rick just said it. I am glad that you said it. We are in that position, and it seems like every day we're still feeding at the trough. 7-8 months ago, nobody was talking about AI. Nobody was embracing it and letting it take over your phone and all of your data information, any of the other stuff. And now every single industry is pushing. We've got to catch up. We've got to catch up. Guess who introduced all of that information? Guess who came up with the technology? Guess where all of your information is going? And they're spitting it all back. Yeah, it's coming from Asia.
Well, not only that, it's so much about this information that people don't understand. And, one of the just little things, this is a real small one. If you keep records from 2015, say, for example, people that were incarcerated, and say those people got expunged, say they've done their time or whatever, because that information is available on the black market, or the dark web, you can really go back and find out who was on probation and parole in 2015 versus 2023 or year 2000. So the idea of mining information in that way is giving some tremendous advantages to so many people. And that's just on the small side. And I'm thinking that, our whole focus almost has to be on how can we communicate with each other. We got a divide here that just has no rules, no policies, and everybody wants to, sort of organize around what they believe, what they see. It's terrible. It really is. If it comes down to needing to be organized to get something done, we will look like people trying to scramble out of a movie theater when the lights go out and you get shot. I mean, it's just odd.
So here's the thing. Do we today start to tell people, hold on, wait a second. Maybe we need to learn how, but let me see if you and I are on the same page. We can't worry about the enemy until we learn how to talk to each other, right?
Pretty much. If we got to do it at best, or at worst, simultaneously, right? They both have to be juggled. We've got to start, trying to cut through some of this distrust, this disharmony, and this inability to work together as a team. These people are not learning that. It's really bad in our community. I really don't know what.
But Rick, here's my real concern. I try to look at things, and this might just be the way that I was raised. I try to look at things quite often as a parking lot in a shopping center, where there are so many different moving pieces at one time. You've got to pay attention to all of the other moving pieces and pay attention to where you are when you're pulling in and pulling out of a lot. My parents taught me that, probably around the time I was 16. You've got to be careful because just because you saw where the car was sitting 1 minute ago, that car is finna move. The one 3 cars down is finna move. Somebody might come this other, everything. There are all of these moving pieces. While we are focusing on, let's sit together and let's all try and come up with a way to talk to each other. Those other folks are already moving. There are all of these other pieces out there. Now,
we got bad team play. We got to get better team play because when those levers are all moving, I need you to be watching yours. I need him to be watching his, her to be watching hers, and recording and us moving. And that gets to be what exactly we got to do. Make3.com.
Thank you, brother. 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600. Y'all, I agree with Rick. But at the same time, I think that we can't just sit around and worry about, we clearly can't do the let's stab everybody in the back that's supposed to be on your same team. We've all got to start learning how to communicate with each other. And because there are problems out there that we've got to address, and if you're not communicating, we can't address them. 313-778-7600. We've got to take the second break of the morning. It's a very quick break, and we'll be right back.
This report is sponsored by Raid Light Trap.
The new Raid Essentials Light Trap uses light to attract, then trap flying insects like fruit flies and mosquitoes, turning your home into restricted airspace. For insecticide-free protection that's people and pet friendly, get new Raid Essentials Light Trap.
Attention! Do you owe back taxes, fines, and penalties to the IRS? The IRS now offers new relief options for taxpayers affected by COVID-19, but you can't go it alone. Call Tax Solutions now. Our team of former IRS agents and tax professionals can get you the best deal. We know the COVID-19 rules. Call us and never speak to the IRS again.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
The virus has caused the IRS to take extensive action to help taxpayers. So if you owe $10,000 or more, this is the best time in years to settle your tax debt.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
Remember, the IRS will not give up until you pay. Call 800-683-9499. 800-683-9499. 800-683-9499.
The all-new 910 Superstation is your #1 source for urban talk radio. If you're looking for the best in radio programming, look no further. You can now listen in on a multitude of audio platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Listen Notes, and coming soon to Amazon Music, GoodPods, and Overcast. 910 AM Superstation, the largest, strongest, 50,000-watt urban radio station in town. 910 AM Superstation has the greatest advertising deal ever with our Godfather package. 100 spots for $600, but they must air within 30-day policy, and we will even produce the spots free. That's right, free. Call Devin C. now at 248-357-4566. That's 248-357-4566. Or email at d.calhoun@thewordnetwork.com. This excludes political ads.
WADL gets a facelift and is now My 38 Detroit. Along with a facelift comes new programming on Mondays at 8 p.m. Catch a 2-hour block of Law & Order SVU. Tuesdays, Chicago Fire. Wednesdays, Dateline. More Dateline and Chicago PD on Thursdays and on Fridays. You will get more Chicago PD to start your weekend. We'll still have some of your favorite shows like Mom, Blackish, and Friends. Just adding more for you to enjoy on My 38.
The 910 AM live stream can now be seen on Apple TV, Roku, Chromecast, YouTube Red, iPhone, iPad, Android phone, Android tablet, Amazon Kindle Fire, any Windows phone, or watch us live at 910amsuperstation.com.
Welcome back, Metro Detroit. This is Kerry Leon Jackson, your urban conservative. You're listening to 910 AM Superstation, Metro Detroit's only urban talk radio station. The number here in the studio is 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600. Before I go back to the phones, let me just say this. It's entirely possible that in the past, Fidel might have said something that was worth listening to. The thing is, Fidel needs to work on his delivery. I've learned, and you'll still continue to learn these things as you go. How you communicate with people, as Rick just said, is based a lot on your delivery. You're delivering wrong, you're gonna wind up getting to the point where people just don't really want to hear what you got to say. If you learn if you've got something that's probably important to say, if you figure out a better, more appropriate way to say it, they might listen to you. 313-778-7600. Let's go back to the phones. Speaking of delivery, let's talk to Tim. Good morning, Tim. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. Thank you. How are you doing?
Pretty good. So do you think that it's smart or even fair at this stage to start to say for local governments to say, you know what? We are too indebted to China. We don't know what's on the minds of those people when they're coming over here. Let's just put a pause on this and let's just say, you know what? We're not going to let any Chinese citizen buy any of the real estate in our area. Do you think that's fair?
No, absolutely not. We're a free country. We have a national security departments that watch or supposedly watch all of it. So,
do you trust them?
The way it's
for real, Tim, do you trust them?
Gary, no, they bought off the Biden family with millions of dollars. Of course they don't. But you said that most of our debt we owe to China. That's not true. Where'd you get that information?
Oh, what do you think? Who do you think we owe the debt to? Tell me where you actually believe the money comes from. When Treasury issue notes and bonds, tell me who you think buys it.
Our kids, their kids.
How old are you, Tim?
Hey, Gary, you ever hear of quantitative easing?
Tim, how old are you?
Gary.
Our kids buy, when the parents and your grandparents used to go out and buy a little bond, a little certificate for you so that you can save it up and we give it to you on your birthday. Do you honestly think that any of those small purchases are actually funding our government?
Gary, how much do you think we owe China?
Tim, the last numbers that I saw, and everybody that's actually really involved in economics will tell you that well over 50% of our debt, closer to 60% of our debt, is from the Asian. Okay. Thank you, Tim. Have a great day. We really appreciate you calling and sharing with us and telling us about Biden being paid off. We don't hear that enough. Thanks for sharing it. Have a great morning. 313-778-7600. Let's talk to Carl.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Good morning, Carl. How are you?
You're hitting on a lot of points, but you're missing the main thing, right? Okay, the United States did business, so much business with the Far East, our corporations, our tech corporations. If they would have did the same business with the continent of Africa, imagine what within the 54 countries.
And why do you think they haven't done that business with the continent of Africa? Tell me, why do you think that is?
Okay, and it goes back to our original problem in this country, and it's always been this way. Just like NAFTA, slave labor. They think they could play the Far East, China. That's all it is. All these corporations go over there to one team. They started putting people here in this country at work. Almost 1 million jobs from Apple makes all their products over there. Everything in every building, in every house in our country is made from the Far East. In America, our government selling bed with them, just like that movie Scarface. If you ever seen what Al Pacino said, America is nothing but a blank, blank, blank. If you know what I mean. And these countries know how to play America. Just like some people, some citizens that come, like the Middle Eastern, know how to play the citizens in the city of Detroit. Because in America, to keep the wars going on in Africa, to steal their minerals and their resources. All these, the United States already been in proxy wars, Vietnam, Korea. So it's too late. And then you have the last president.
But I think that it's not too late until it's over. And I honestly don't think that we talk enough about the fact that you're right. I mean, whether y'all knew this or not, he's absolutely right. All of their minerals, all of their natural resources, that's what they go for. All of the countries go to Africa to not just to rape and pillage, but to steal as much of the resources from the land that they can, and then they come over here and they make money off of it. They make money off of it all over the world. But here's the thing: if you pay attention to history, it's been that way for more than 1,000 years.
Yes, but our country never made a peace and made things happen with the continent of Africa. The Far East, China is a behemoth. Just like Donald Trump was talking about. How are you going to talk about somebody like a dog and you owe them trillions of dollars? And China like, okay, no problem. That's a whole different set of rules that they have for America. And when you get locked in like that, because it all started, Jerry, back in the 70s, when Nixon went over there and all that stuff, and all these goods start coming over here.
And here's the thing, y'all. He's right, and nobody talks about it. It's not something that, our kids are not learning this. Our kids don't know about what happened when Nixon decided to take us off of the gold standard and we started basically printing our own money. we don't talk enough about what happened or why. We lived through it. Those of us that are my age, we lived through it. We've seen it, but we don't actually think that it affects our lives today. Guess what? It does.
And we think the Middle East that is so rich from our oil buying. You know, we have made all these other countries rich. We have taken, if just take, for example, if China sit up there with all that bread, some things they can buy in this country and some things they can't. That's all. China ain't no fool. They know how to play America. They're not going to turn tables on it. No, they got the 2008 and 9. I'm sitting on trees with them. You think I ain't going to buy something up in there? They own corporations in this country. They got big players on Wall Street.
They've invested like crazy, and there's no way. Listen. When the first caller through the door says, "How much of it do we owe? What do we do about it?" Nothing. Not at this stage until we wake up and we realize how great of what the situation is we've gotten ourselves in. Once we realize it, then we can do something about it. So let me knock out some more callers, brother. Thanks for calling. Let's talk to Ann. Good morning, Ann. How are you?
Hi, Terry. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Nixon because people need to get the old history books out because President Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford, VP, back in the 1970s, along with his main man, Henry Kissinger, was his U.S. Secretary of State. And he was the one, Kissinger was the one that was going over to China without the knowledge of the American people, making secret trade deals with China. And this is why we're in the condition we're in. Plus, they thought that the Chinese, which are probably the most industrious people in the world, and very, very smart, because they planned way in the future. And I'm sure Kissinger and Nixon were fools because they weren't going to be the subservient. Thank you very much for letting us in all your international institutions that we built up after World War II. We let them in there. And now they've got the votes. You can't get them out of there. And yes, I do agree that there needs to be some regulation on how many farms they're buying, the whole 9 yards, because we're going to need that stuff in the future. And I think the other guy was right. It's kind of too late because they've already burrowed in, and but actually we still depend on each other. So, but nonetheless, their goal in the end is to dominate the earth, and you can't blame them. We gave them the red carpet, invited them into WTO, you name it, all our institutions that we've put together with the Europeans after World War II.
But understand this, I don't think that it's too late until it's over, and it's not over.
I agree.
I think that it's time to wake up and say, hold on, maybe we can't trust certain people. Yeah. And if we can't trust them, and listen, as a black man in America, the last thing you're ever going to hear me start talking about is I think we should discriminate. But guess what? In this case, I think we should discriminate.
No, they're heading to be probably one of the leaders in the world, and if we don't stop some deals with them now, we're going to be in big trouble in the future because, like I said, they're in all our international institutions. They have the votes now. They can stop anything they want. That veto is very, very strong in the international world. And Henry Kissinger, that he gave Nixon the ideas about opening up China to trade, and it was all done under secrecy. And then they launched it on us, and we didn't get to vote on it or anything. So, of course, Congress voted to let them in the institutions, but nonetheless, and might I add, that was a Republican that's all I can tell you, but that's what it was. Okay, Kira.
All right. Have a good day. 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600. We've got to take the last break of the morning. It's a very quick break. We'll be right back.
Network has been broadcasting inspirational messages around the world since the year 2000, and we keep getting bigger and better and more innovative. Seen all around the world, we bring you the best teaching, impartation, singing, and inspiration. If you want original programming, we have that too. The Word Network is your exclusive source for all things inspiration, and we can be found on every device imaginable. If you want to be uplifted and inspired, you need the Word Network.
My 38 is offering a great special that cannot be refused. Are you looking for a great deal on TV advertising? Are you searching for an avenue to get your business name out to the public? With My 38, we are offering a great special with 100 commercial ads for a great price. This offer is for a 30-day ad placement. Please contact Devin C. for more information at 248-357-4566 or email at d.calhoun@thewordnetwork.org. This excludes political ads. Have you thought about a ministry program on the 910 AM Superstation? Want to expand your personal ministry or broadcast part of your service? We have prime radio time available now to expand your ministry. Call us and ask for Henry. 248-357-4566. Tell the story of your church. Tell the old story on 910 The AM Superstation. Call Henry at 248-357-4566. A modest investment is requested.
Did you know most vitamin supplements don't even come from food? Even the products with colorful fruits and vegetables adorning the labels are seldom derived from produce. Typically, supplements are synthetic, made in a laboratory. Modern science may synthetically imitate these chemicals, but your body isn't fooled. It knows the difference, and it craves quality materials to build, repair, and fight illness. You need to consume fruits and vegetables daily in a variety of colors, as well as whole grains and other fresh food. That's why I formulated Balance of Nature. I wanted to be able to give my patients a natural alternative to the cheap, unnatural chemistry by giving them real fruits and vegetables. In fact, the only ingredients inside of Balance of Nature are whole fruits and vegetables. Don't settle for imitation nutrition. Reach for the good stuff, the real stuff.
Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code RADIO5.
The all-new 910 Superstation is your number one source for urban talk radio. If you're looking for the best in radio programming, look no further. You can now listen in on a multitude of audio platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Listen Notes, and coming soon to Amazon Music, GoodPods, and Overcast. 910 AM Superstation, the largest, strongest, 50,000-watt urban radio station in town.
Welcome back, Metro Detroit. This is Kerry Leon Jackson, your urban conservative. See how many callers we can knock out before we run out of time. Let's talk to Bayree. Good morning, Bayree.
Good morning, Kerry. Kerry, you know what? I'm going to stand down after a couple of more callers. But look here, you want the money, and you telling somebody something been telling me for years. You slow walking it, you slow talking, and let me speed it up for you a little bit. The reason why we are like this is because you told me, because when you got somebody say, we don't owe China, they must don't know their history. And when you know that they're taking history, black history, out the book, you know they're talking about this education. Now, what this is saying, China and Africa will be the leading world here. And I'm telling you this here because China is one of the smartest people of the world. We are of China. China is of us. And I'm gonna say this here. I won't take too much because they said man will destroy himself. And when you look at history and see what man is doing to himself, God is showing you all over the world what he's doing for the people, of the people. Now, getting back to what you're saying about Africa and China, China is over there in Africa now. The mineral trade, and you don't understand what the mineral trade is, what the history.
Everybody that has a cell phone needs to know that the minerals that were used to make your batteries and things like that came out of the soil in Africa. They are over there. They're mining those minerals. They are stripping the land of the minerals, and they're using it to make money off of it. And they're not feeding that money back into Well, there are, Africa in of itself is an entire continent. It's too complex to think that we're going to solve all of their problems within 1 hour. But just understand this: they're losing resources, and the money is not getting where you think the money should be going. Okay.
Now,
Let me knock out a couple more callers, brother. I appreciate it. We'll tackle African politics on another morning. All right. Thanks, Barry. Let's go to New Tim. Good morning, Tim. How are you?
Yes, good morning. I'm enjoying the conversation. I got to agree with you. There should be some type of limitation on how much a foreigner or an immigrant can be able to buy. I mean, because if you know they up to no good, why are you going to keep selling them or letting them buy property? I mean, because they can't buy all that property over where they come from. I mean, sometimes you got to put down that iron hand. They are not from this country. So all the laws should not apply to them. They should not be able to buy all this land and things like that when you know that they are doing something wrong. That's just like letting the rapists be inside of around a whole lot of women, and you know that they are rapists. I'm not saying all Chinese people are bad, but you got to say, I can't distinguish which is which. So I'm going to lay down that law. Y'all can't come over here and buy all that land and things like that because all the rules don't apply to.
There is no way, but here's the thing. Unless, I don't even know if you can come up with a test or, whether you've got to trace somebody's lineage. I don't know that there's a way that we'd be able to tell as to, I hate saying it like this, but who are the good ones and who are the bad ones? Who are the ones that were sent over and that they work directly for the government? Who are the ones that, the government is providing the funds that they're using and that they're investing in our communities and buying up all of the land? How do we even trace it? I mean, I don't know that there is. And I realize that it sounds horrible coming from a Black man in America to say you've got to watch certain people because of, who they are. You want to lump them all together. But after years of education, I'm not able to tell which ones are the ones that have a good heart with a pure motive and which ones actually are working for the Communist Party in China and that they have a bad motive. I don't know how you tell.
But that's how they do us. They say, okay, all the Black people are bad, so we're going to treat them all the same. I mean, so why can't they do the same thing to people over in China that are coming over to this land?
But you and I were raised that we want to fight discrimination. That's not something we want to encourage because we've been discriminated against. I just don't know that, but is in fact, let me ask this question before we run out of time. When you hear the stories and you find out that during World War II, they deliberately set up internment camps because, Japan bombed us. And so everybody that looked Asian wound up being locked up because you didn't know which ones to trust. Did you think that was fair when you hear those stories? Do you think that is horrible? How on earth could you do that? Or do you think, I think that was a wise policy then because we didn't know which ones we could trust?
Okay, y'all, I'm going to come back to you like this. They did the Black people the same way when they went over to Africa and kidnapped us and brought us all over here, and they still are discriminated against us today. So I don't feel no mercy toward them because the Chinese and Japanese people, they don't feel no mercy for me. And we're going to be real on this. They do not feel no mercy on us. They won't let us over in their land and buy all.
You're right. Listen, if it comes to those folks will discriminate against Black people in a heartbeat. They have no qualms at all. They don't feel bad about it. We're not accepted in their community and we won't be. So I agree with you then. But based on everything we were taught, you've got to say, is it fair to decide that we're going to carve out a group and we're going to start discriminating against that one group because we don't trust them?
The only thing is fair is about we looking at our own people. That's the only thing I can say fair. Everything outside of that, because every other race and nationality, they do the same thing. The only people they care about is the people within their race. So we have to start doing the same thing. Quit worrying about what's going on
in another race because they're not going to come over here and help us. Look how the Jews.
They're not going to help you. They're not going to help you.
The only people the Jews care about is people of their.
Now, I don't know that's a whole nother discussion because I don't know that I agree with that one. I've had the experience on those who are Asians, but I don't know that I truly don't agree with that when you're talking about the Jewish slave. But that's a whole nother subject, and I'm out of time, brother. Thanks for calling and have a great morning. Anyway, y'all, it's 6:55. It's time for me to get out of the way and make room for State Representative Joel Jones. After he or a member of the foundation will be here to bring you information and inspiration from 7 to 9, followed by Attorney Anthony Adams. Excuse me, y'all. Attorney Anthony Adams will be here from 9 to 11 to talk about politics, culture, and the community. Y'all know that Tuesday we don't have an engineer in the studio, so you will have a pre-recorded show in this slot tomorrow. Wednesday morning, I'll be back live in person, ready to talk to each and every one of y'all. Listen, this morning's weather is not going to get hot today. It's 50 degrees outside. And luckily, we've got enough rain for the last 24 hours. But it's 50 degrees outside, and it's very windy. So you need to definitely take a jacket with you. It's going to struggle to get up near 70 later on today. Just take care of yourselves because I look forward to talking to each and every one of y'all on Wednesday morning. Have a great morning.